So what are the normal beliefs? We all know those beliefs. So the interesting thing is that the truth is something which is known by everybody also. But the truth is not named, brought into conscious awareness. The truth is a little less than conscious and works as a subconscious belief. So what are the beliefs that people believe? Let us simply and wholly name them. The first belief is that there is a God. It could be a Muslim God, it could be a Hindu God, it could be some God who exists and to whom we must pray, and we must the God fills a certain that concept of God definitely fills our question, unnamed question, that then what is the world? There is a God. Who created the universe? There is a God. There is something which gives even meaning. Definitely God is connected to meaning. Our morality is connected to our God. This is the belief. So because if you're a Hindu, then you should be like this, you should be like that. These are the traditions. And the way of life is not just the belief in God, but the rituals and traditions and rules which you should follow because you are born in that family. That's a fact. Now an educated person, a really reader, questioner questions all this and comes to the root of this. Comes to a clarity that this God was invented in history. It came down via history and it is still functioning in the world. These are belief systems. Belief systems which people believe because they have been told repeatedly that. So most of the people around, they don't question this belief. So it is a way of life. There is a common sense mixed with the belief. We know that. So if you meet a person, he will bring out his beliefs. Like he'll bring out his beliefs of what kind of rules he follows. If he's a Muslim, he'll be following some rule, doing namaz, going to the mosque, following some rules. Very negative things also. If you're a girl, then you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do this. If you're Hindu, then they have their beliefs, and then you have this caste system in India. In US, it will be Christianity, which will be told to you it is not as free as we think they are. So everybody is surrounded by a certain belief system, which is inescapable in the society around. But if you read, you come out, because we are looking for the truth here. So you try to question that. When you question that, it is easy to question and reject something very silly as idol worship or even a God which gave birth to this or gave birth to the universe, or these fantasy stories. It's easy to reject that. But once you reject that, you still come to a kind of vacuum as to then what? If there is no God and all these beliefs are really thrust upon us by some people who are limited and who didn't do their thinking, and who are more average and they are not that thinking kind, but you are and you want to know, then that belief system works. That belief system has gone from you. So what remains? Then you really begin to question, and then you start reading books, and then you find out that there is a certain depth in these books, that there is a certain depth in these religions, that there is something called a personality, an individual personality. There is certain beauty in those words, and this takes you on a journey of really finding out what is this beauty of life that religion is talking about, because there is such a thing in every religion. So you will slowly, if you read enough and read widely, actually comparatively, and read all the religions, you will find that there is a state of mind where they're talking. It's more psychology, that where you're free and you're feeling bliss and you're happy, and then you should not have an ego. Most of the religions talk about being good and being kind and not having an ego. So this point is usually stated in religions, that you should not have an ego. You should not give yourself so much self-importance. Taken purely, I mean religions say it in different ways, but if you suck out the real intent which they're talking about, they're trying to tell you that there is something, they're trying to tell you that there is some kind of a inner morality, and this you will find that it matches what you actually know also. So there is definitely, when you go deeper into religion and even widely read more books about humanism, religions, some people are atheists, but they're humanistic atheists, and all of them, you find something common in all of them. A certain real goodness which comes from the inner conscience. There's an inner conscience which tells you this is wrong. Not treating women badly is wrong. But if you go deeper into religion, they're not talking about only social issues, which we are very fond of talking about. They're talking about how to experience life in its beauty. Strangely, religion talks about a God, but actually the whole purpose is to talk about life. Because religion was originated to give a answer to fundamental questions. That's when you realize, okay, religion is not religion the way you are told, but religion is like a fundamental philosophy. And then you look for answers, and then you find it actually. By this time, you actually start experiencing wonderful emotions because you are released from this bondage of beliefs around you. You're released from the self-importance around. This much reading itself releases you. Then you go further, you read science, and then not the science which is usually memorized in textbooks, but the science really understanding how the world works, really grasping the science, and you are struck by the wonderful fact that there is a deeper depth in science also. So there's a depth in the religious beliefs which are thrust upon you. There's a depth in the scientific textbooks which you memorize, but there's a depth in that also. This usually happens when you grow up actually. So when you reach your 30s and if you're still inquiring, you suddenly one day realize, okay, science and history and these things there's a depth to it. And by this time you have read so many books, you have read lots of literature, you have read poetry, and all these things are talking about the same thing. Certain inner state, certain bliss, certain great happiness. And each is slightly kind of dividing from each other. Like each is like kind of cultish also in some way. Like Hindus say we have the truth, even at higher levels, and Christians say they have the truth in the higher levels. So you see that politics playing around also. People are using those beliefs, people are not drawing out of it. And one day you come to a plane where you realize the truths and realize and kind of faced with the fact that actually nobody knows the truth, that you're in a pathless land. But with all the issues cleared up. And then you join the ranks of those people who know everything, who are informed of everything. Let's use the word, simple word. They're informed of everything. They know the basics of all the things that are working in this world. And nothing comes as a surprise from then on. And that's when you have come of age. You have matured. You have realized that there is a life and it matches your inner nature. And then you start seeing that each person is also like that. Every person has a mix of these. They have beliefs, they have truths, they have their human nature which is flowing. People don't need religion to be good people. There's a certain natural goodness which we all have. And then you finally realize one remarkable fact that there's really no God, that there is only earth. If you really stick to your truth, and there are people who have written on that, like Ayn Rand has written, and then Jiddu Krishnamurti indirectly has written, Buddha has written. There's a certain profound atheism and biocentricity. So finally you realize in the 21st century, whether they are there in books or not, you realize personally, integrating all the facts that you have discovered, that science, history, politics, economics, everything depends upon certain kind of morality, certain kind of approach to life, and it is biocentric, it is atheistic, there is no God. It is a biocentric living that you have to live, and that life is mortal. And finally we reach the simple truth, and very profound truth, that life is mortal, that people are conditioned, that the world is in a certain stage. Everybody has not literally changed. Everybody has not literally changed. Only you have changed. And some few people like you have changed, and the change comes, and we are all on different paths with different words also. But those who have read holistically, those who are aware of all the issues completely, have realized that this is the final truth. When you know everything, then that has to be the truth, because you have got all the facts. And it doesn't feel like truth then. It feels like just something very simple. And what is simplicity? We are biocentric beings with certain needs, not just physical needs. We have spiritual needs. We have a natural need to learn, to grow, to use our minds to learn new things. And that learning is infinite. How is it infinite? Let's try to concretize this point. When we find that there are so many things one can do, so many things to explore in the world, so many things to learn and do also, and you have these emotions of love, which are unquestionable. You realize, you of course for some time you try to question that love, but finally you realize to be and to see and to learn is to love, and all these things are coming together as a biological being. And finally you understand that okay, man is there on earth to live only. Living only is a morality, but the living is done via man-centric ways, and man has a power which other animals don't have. And this is a scientific morality, you can say. And then he is profoundly joyous in his living, and he enjoys his life through learning, and that feelings of love that he feels inside, that love keeps flowing inside. And this happens when all issues are cleared. That is the simplicity you reach. So obviously this simplicity is something which you actually reach through a process. So the process is finally, though you might have taken a long time, it's to communicate it is very simple. We are a biological being. We are living in reality. We are nothing different from dogs, but we have a certain nature which gives us a natural love to grow, to learn. The natural desire to grow and grow without limit is seen in a child. It's there in you and me. This is our common humanity. So on the one hand, those who flower like that lead a very profoundly blissful life, and those who don't flower, those who get caught up in these beliefs, they are going against their own nature in part. So they fail in those areas, and those areas in which they put their heart, they succeed in these areas, and there's a mixed life they lead. So most people, if you see, they have a mixed life. They will love their children, but they might not love other children. They might be corrupt in their office, but they will be good with their wife. They have this mixed nature, and they're all balancing it out. They're going through different moods and ups and downs. But those who have transcended this, those who have risen above this, they come to a certain plane where they feel very comfortable with their beliefs, because they know what they know life, and it's impossible for them not to feel unhappy. They cannot unsee what they have seen. They cannot unhappy themselves because they're already happy. So this is the awareness that we need. This is the simple truth. There cannot be any other truth. And this applies in politics also. This is the foundation of morality that applies in politics. Now when you see these videos, you'll be wondering why these politicians are like that. They are like that because they're guided by those beliefs. They're just carrying out their beliefs. But what really is happening is that these moralities are inherently being played out in the politics that you see around. A politician will be not serious. As they say in politics, they only want power. But what's the root of power? The root of power is to gain a certain value from others, praise of you, than finding the happiness within. So finding the happiness within is one thing. Finding the praise from others is another thing. We all are looking for name and position and money. But we are not really interested in the name and position and money. We are interested in somebody praising us, somebody giving us value. We are a kind of parasite on other people to give us value. So once you transcend this, you come out of that. And it is not completely like that. Part of us is pursuing some things for others. Part of us is living for oneself. And this battle goes on. And these beliefs of living for others, living for yourself, these confusions come in. And the resting place doesn't come for most people. That's where people come to a certain resignation and they say, okay, they get into the mechanical mode of living. They just live out their life in a mechanical way. But some people are better. They are able to lead a wonderful life because they are aware of life, the deep life, the profound life.